You were a single mother of two boys, JT the oldest, Jesse the youngest. And as if you weren't busy enough, raising two boys, you're university educated, you worked full time. So I can imagine how busy you probably were. Tell me about your home life raising these two young boys.
So we live on a little farm in the middle of Sandy Hook. And so we have lots of aminals, we'll always call them. That's what Jesse called them. And so both boys, I was a single mom. So they originally went to daycare. In fact, I always worked long hours. So they went to one daycare in the morning and were bused to another daycare in the afternoon so I could pick them up later. And, we had really full lives. I never thought I got enough time with them because I did work long hours. I always had long commutes. So the weekends were ours, and I would have all these plans with them, and we'd do all sorts of fun things. It was all about having fun and being together. And I really focused on being present with them.
Well, let's talk about December 14, 2012. This was a day that not only did your life change forever, but so did the lives of a lot of people. That morning started off normally for you. Jesse's father came to pick him up from school. And from what I understand, Jesse did something before he left that caused you to grab your phone to take a picture. Can you talk about what happened that morning when he was getting ready to go off to school?
Yeah, so I was walking him outside and I turned around to give him a hug goodbye. And I noticed that he had written with his little fingernail in the frost on my car, "I love you." And he'd drawn hearts in all my windows. And, I talked about being present and practicing really being present, not on screens, but looking in eyes and really communicating. And I really credit that practice for realizing that was one of life's moments. And so I said, wait here, don't go anywhere. I want to go in and I want to get my camera, which, a phone, which is now our cameras. And I want to take a picture of this. So I ran inside, brought my phone out, put him right next to his message, took a couple of pictures. In fact, I remember deleting one because they're kind of overexposed. And then I took a close up of the "I love you" and I gave him a kiss and sent him off. And that was the last time I saw him and the last picture ever taken of him.
Nice. And that's a great picture. That's a great picture to have,
I'm so glad that I have that.
For sure.
Yes.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, later that morning, you heard that there had been an incident at a school, Sandy Hook Elementary in Newtown, Connecticut. And when you first heard, you weren't alarmed by it when you first heard this news. Talk about how that day unfolded, what you first heard, what your initial thoughts were, and what happened from there.
I was at work and I had a coworker that was at home, I guess, watching TV. And she messaged me and said, there's been a shooting in Sandy Hook. Well, that could be anything, right? And then somebody else came up and said, I think it was in a school. Well, there are a bunch of schools. And then somebody said, doesn't your son go to Sandy Hook Elementary School? I mean, bottom line is nothing can ever happen like that to you,
right?
Even if it's happening in your town, right? So I don't know why. I think maybe we heard that a teacher had been shot, and I just assumed that maybe it was a jealous boyfriend that came into the school. And so then we heard that all the parents had to go and reunite with their kids at the firehouse, which was at the end of a cul-de-sac where the school was. So, I had a 45-minute drive. So I'm having people call me and give me updates. And by the time I got to the school, I wasn't even really, I wasn't panicked, I was just driving and listening to information. But when I got near the school, I started to really feel anxious because I had to park what seemed like a half a mile away. All these cars lined up. There were helicopters. There were army men and first responders running all over the place, emergency vehicles. And so I literally ran from my car to the firehouse, and I saw, parents hugging their kids and leaving. And so I was walking up to any official looking person and saying, have you seen Jesse Lewis? I think he was with a group of kids that were at the house next door. So I ran over to the house next door and I knocked on the door, and this older man answered. And actually I realized later that was where the group of kids that Jesse had directed to ran to. And he said, oh yeah, I think he was here, but I think they went over to the daycare. Well, Jesse's daycare was on the other side of the school. So I'm talking with Neil and I'm like, you go to the daycare, I'll go into the firehouse. And, eventually we, I know they kept saying, go into this back room. If you don't have your kid, go into the back room and put their name down on a missing persons list. And I was like, I just wanted to find Jesse and leave. I'm like, I'm not putting his name down on this list, mm-hmm. right? I'm just going to find him and leave. Eventually, of course, I did go into that room. By the time I had to write his name down, I remember it was just like a notebook paper, but I had to turn it over and put his name down at the end of this long list. And I mean, it's like incomprehensible, right? Yeah. There's a list of missing people, but it never even occurred to me that they were dead, And so by that time they had people from the school, educators that had come out. It was almost surreal, right? Because they were like, okay, eat pizza. They have pizza here. I have a piece of pizza. So I'm like, I'm not having a piece of pizza. I'm finding my child, So I went to a room and there were all these educators that I knew eating pizza. And I'm like, where's Jesse? And they were looking at each other, like this. And I was just like, it didn't even then I was like, why isn't anybody saying anything? Right? Mm-hmm. This is ridiculous. I just want my child. So during this time, actually, JT, who was 12 years old in 7th grade and in lockdown in his Spanish class, is texting me going, Mom, can I come wait with you? And I'm thinking, well, of course, right? Because when they actually since then, the first responders had said to me, well, we are sweeping and re-sweeping the school. We think there are kids hiding. We think that kids have maybe gone into the woods and they're hiding. And I'm like, I'm thinking in my mind, absolutely. Jesse's taken a small contingent. He's led a small contingent of kids into the woods. It's going to take him a while to find them. So I'm writing JT back. Sure, come and wait with me, because when they find him, he's going to want his big brother there. I mean, we'll probably, I don't know, maybe go out to dinner with Nana and Papa, who also live in Newtown. So my mom was coming to the firehouse to wait with me. I mean, it was just kind of, and during this whole time, just chaos, right? Parents demanding answers, total chaos. And so, my mom and my stepfather and JT came, we're waiting. And it was a terrible day, obviously. Yeah. Eventually some guy came up and said, there's no easy way to say this, your son's dead. And I'd already come to that conclusion in my mind. I think by then it was a long time after we arrived at the firehouse. And police came up to him. The police came up to me and said, what did that guy say to you? And I said, he told me my son's dead. They said, oh, he shouldn't have said that. They grabbed him. And, because people come when there's a tragedy and they try to, I don't know, help mm-hmm. or take advantage. So it was a really tough day.
Now, a few days after this happened, you went back to your house. And that's when you saw something that became the inspiration for what you would go on to do. Talk about what you saw. Talk about what happened.
Yeah. So at first I thought I would never be able to go back to my little farmhouse, that I raised my two boys. Like I was thinking about walking in the door and seeing the shoes, the coats, and the toothbrush by the sink. So I thought I'd never be able to go back. But then it came down to like, who's going to choose his clothes for the casket? And is it going to be his dad or me? And of course I wanted it to be me. So I remember coming back to the house a few days later with just surrounded, somebody had rented a van. And so that's where we went down to the middle of Sandy Hook. They had all of these memorials set up. And that's what brought us to the house, just with a whole bunch of family and friends. And so I walk in and I just walked. I had asked for everything to be removed of Jesse's. It's just, you make decisions and then you wonder why you made them, Then, I don't know, a week later, I was like, oh my God, what did you do with all that stuff? So anyway, I walk directly into Jesse's room. I go into his drawers. I pick out an outfit. And then I turn around and I'm walking directly out. And it's actually right around the corner from where I'm sitting, my kitchen. And I had spray painted a chalkboard on the side of our oven, and I saw a message. It was, he had written sometime shortly before he died, nurturing, healing, love. And I just was stopped in my tracks because I knew in that moment that if Adam Lanza, the perpetrator, had been able to give and receive nurturing, healing love, the tragedy would never have happened. And so I was just stopped in my tracks. And I knew then and there that I don't know, I'd be spending the rest of my life spreading that message. I had no idea what it meant or anything else, but that was such a huge message of comfort for us, for all of us, for me, for his brother. It was almost like he'd had a spiritual awareness of what was going to happen, and he left that message. Those words aren't something a 6-year-old normally says.
You're right.
They were phonetically spelled. People say, well, did you walk around saying nurturing, healing, love? And I kind of laugh. It's like, no, I didn't. I wish I had, but I didn't. It was just a life-changing. In fact, that moment just made me do a 180 in my entire life. I knew I just dedicated my life to those words and to spreading them, because I knew that that's where we needed to go in order to survive and thrive.
Right. What happened from there that led to you creating the Choose Love movement? Because I understand that you did research on Adam Lanza and you discovered that the shooting could have potentially been prevented, like we alluded to earlier, could have potentially been prevented had his issues been addressed. So what happened to cause you to create the Choose Love movement from there?
I didn't do a lot of research on Adam. I mean, I always felt like I was actually very careful with myself in my healing, and there was so much information. I always felt like I would receive information when I was ready to handle it, and I wanted to be very careful not to overload myself, because there were meetings for parents where the FBI would be going over all this detailed information, and it was a lot. So I went to Jesse's funeral, and I decided to get up and speak to the congregation. And I said, this whole tragedy started in Adam Lanza's head as a thought. And I pictured him as a little boy having an angry thought without the tools or nurturing environment to deal with that thought, right? Anger. And I knew instinctively that he must have been in a tremendous amount of pain. I knew that when I saw the nurturing, healing, love message. And so, everybody had been saying, what can we do for you, for the situation? And I said that, I'm going to ask you to do something. I'm going to ask you to think about what you think about every day, and to choose one loving thought over an angry thought every day. I said, by doing that, it'll make you feel better because loving thoughts feel good, and that's reflected in how we treat one another. Angry, hateful, resentful thoughts obviously feel bad, and that's reflected in our behavior. So it'll make you feel better. It'll positively impact those around you. And through the ripple effect, you will help make this a safer, more peaceful and loving world.
And you were also instrumental in changing legislation to incorporate social and emotional learning tools into schools. Tell me about that, because I read about the Jesse Lewis Empowering Educators Act that was introduced. So tell me about how you had a hand in that.
Yes, well, I did. I reached out to every politician I could think of, and Senator Blumenthal had been in my living room 3 days after the tragedy, and he had said, anything that you ever need, here's my cell phone. And so I wanted to do a bill, and so I called him on his cell phone. He picked up, and I said, remember, you were in my living room and you said if I needed anything? And he said yes. And I said, well, here's what I need a bill. And so we drafted one together, and he brought it to the US Senate, and eventually the languaging in that bill became part of the Every Student Succeeds Act. And it's a step in the right direction. We still have a long way to go, but it's getting there.
Now, I created Grappling with Grief as my outlet to help me cope when I lost my father and my sister to cancer. And it's something that I use to kind of help me channel that into something positive and to try to help other people at the same time. I want to read a quote from you. This is from theforgivenessproject.com. And this is what you wrote. Reaching out to others has saved me. People tell me that Jesse's message of love and compassion has helped them to change some pain in their life. To be able to pass on Jesse's legacy is very healing. So it sounds to me like the Choose Love movement, it's almost like it's your outlet, and you're not just helping yourself, but you're helping other people too.
It's so true. It is a huge source of healing for me to be able to, I was traveling around almost full time, but now through Zoom, be able to share Jesse with other people, to be able to talk about him, and for his message and his programming to help heal and even save lives is just an incredible blessing for me and for others. And you know, his example of courage has been instrumental in my life, but in other lives as well. So it has been a huge blessing. That nurturing, healing love on the chalkboard was for me, but it was for the world as well. And it's, you know, it ultimately translates into a powerful and profound formula for choosing love. And that formula is at the basis of everything that we teach. And I practice this formula every single day. It helps me thoughtfully respond in any situation, circumstance, or interaction by choosing love. And it starts with Jesse's example of courage, for which, by the way, he's on the short list for the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Wow. I don't know if you know that, but it's the highest.
Your son, right? Your son was involved with that, JT.
Yeah, JT was very involved in, and it was really important to him that he received that acknowledgement. But I talk about Jesse's courage because we all have that capacity for courage. And we need courage, especially during COVID. We practice courage every day when we face our fear instead of resisting and avoiding it. And when we're kind to others, when they're not kind to us, there's so many different ways that we practice courage every day. And then nurturing, in Jesse's message, means loving kindness and gratitude. And gratitude can help us shift our thoughts. We all have between 50 and 70,000 thoughts a day, excuse me, as adults, the majority of which are negative and repetitive, because that's our negative bias. And so when we're in a more negative thinking pattern, angry, sad, depressed, and we want to shift out, you can think of something that you're grateful for, because you can only focus on one thought at a time. So we call it the Great Mind Shifter. And that actually strengthens you to consider forgiveness. Forgiveness has been a huge part of my healing. My decision to forgive Adam and his mom has been huge in my healing. When you look at the research behind the decades of research behind the benefits of forgiveness for the forgiver, you realize in some situations, including my own, it's the only way to take your personal power back. So we teach forgiveness, which is, by the way, kids' favorite character value, because they think it's a superpower, because they say it feels
Really?
so good to let it go. Could you imagine a society that understands forgiveness and practices it on a daily basis? Wow. And then we move into, and that's healing. Healing literally means forgiveness. And then love is compassion in action, which is the identifying of an issue. It's stepping outside yourself and identifying an issue. It's the empathetic component. Empathy is necessary for relationships. And also the action component. Then actively doing something to help ease another's pain. And that's where science tells us all the nurturing, healing love that we give out, we get back. There's science behind the benefits of all of this. So when you have the courage to be grateful and focus on what you have, even when things in life aren't going your way, when you have the courage to forgive, even if the person who hurt you isn't sorry, doesn't care, or doesn't know, or, by the way, forgive yourself. We all make mistakes. And the courage to step outside of your own pain and even suffering to help someone else. You've chosen love, and you have literally made the world a safer, more peaceful and loving place.
I look at your list of accomplishments now, and aside from creating the program and aside from helping to create legislation, you received the Common Ground Award in 2014. You received the International Forgiveness Award. You even got an honorary doctorate from Quinnipiac University in 2018. In 2020, you got the Unsung Hero Award. How do you think Jesse would feel knowing that he inspired all of this by those 3 words on that chalkboard that day?
I think that he would, I know that he is, I will say, cheering me on from above. And I also believe, and I always say, I feel like he's like right here whispering in my ear, Mommy never could have done this without me. And I'm helping you every step of the way. And I'm literally bringing you resources and people when you need them. So you can't take all the credit. And I have this incredible team also that is all around the country. And they literally are the bedrock of what we do. And I couldn't do anything without them. But together, I feel like we all feel so honored. What a blessing to be able to focus our efforts on helping others and healing others. I mean, for my whole life, I realized that everything that I'd done was really fear-based before I started Choose Love. I realized, they were jobs, and I was kind of a little bit desperate to earn a living for my family, and afraid of losing my job, and like, I don't think if you asked me what my dream job was, I don't think that I'd had it. Let's just put it that way. I did what became available until Choose Love, and Choose Love is, and I wouldn't have realized it before the tragedy, but I realize it now, that if you can be in a position where you help other people, this is the meaning and purpose of my life. And how blessed am I to be able to have a mission that is so helpful to so many other people.